Hello, everyone. I'm Miss Catherine, and welcome to our Sunday School lesson. Last week, we learned that God preserved Noah through the flood. He caused the wind to blow and the water to drain and the land to dry up. Eventually, the ark landed on Mount Ararat. When the land was completely dry, God told Noah to leave the ark with all the animals. He then commanded Noah and his family to be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. God also promised that a flood will never again destroy all life on earth. God said, "I will give you something to prove that I made this promise to you." God then put a rainbow in the sky as proof as his promise. And every time we see a rainbow, we should remember that God always keeps his promises. And that brings us to our lesson today. We are going to be learning about how God judges the nations at Babel. So grab your Bibles and open them up to Genesis chapter 11, and we're going to be reading through verses 1 through 9. But before we start reading, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on Genesis chapters 9 and 10. So, after the flood, Noah's sons, Japheth, Shem, and Ham, they had huge families, and many of those children left Mount Ararat. They found a plain in the land of Babylonia and stayed there to live, and in this land was called Shinar. The land was in southern Mesopotamia. There we go. The city was founded by King Nimrod, according to Genesis 10, 9, and 10. So now Nimrod was the grandson of Ham and the great-grandson of Noah. And it says that Nimrod was a powerful man on earth. So here in chapter 10, verses 8 and 9, it says, Cush fathered Nimrod. So Cush was the son of Ham. Nimrod was the first man on earth to be a mighty man. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. And he was king over a lot of cities. And one of them was Babel. And so that brings us to chapter 11. So here we start on verse 1. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as people migrated from the earth, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, "Let us make some bricks and clay and bake them with fire." Then they used the bricks as stones, and they used tar as mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the earth." Okay, so these people in Babel had become very skilled at constructing and building. And they decided to build a city with a tower that would reach up to the heaven. By building the tower, the people of the city wanted to make a name for themselves and also prevent their population or the population from being scattered across the earth. But there was a problem. You see, God gave a command to them all in Genesis 9:1. He said, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth." The people of Babel were rebellious and directly disobeyed God's command to fill the earth. Okay, so in verse 5 of chapter 11 says, "Then the Lord came down to see the city and the tower. The Lord said, 'These people all speak the same language, and I see that they are joined together to do this work. This is only the beginning that what they can do. Soon they will be able to do anything they want." Okay, so God perceived the intentions of the people in the city, And in his infinite wisdom, he knew this stairway to heaven would only lead the people away from him. The goal of these people was not to glorify God and lift up his name, but to build a name for themselves. Okay, so in verse 7 it says, let's go down, this is God talking, let's go down and confuse their language. Then they will not understand each other. So the Lord dispersed them from all over the face of all the earth, and they left building the city. Therefore, its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth. And from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of the earth. You see, God understood their rebellious hearts. As a result, he confused their language, caused them to speak many different languages so they would not understand each other. This kind of isolated each family group of the peoples, and by doing this, they all had their own language. It naturally caused them to scatter. Okay, so let's go back to when God confused their language. And just imagine with me for a minute. Let's say a man or a person who is living in Babel at that time wakes up one morning and he greets his family, and it seems like just a regular, ordinary day. But as soon as he steps out his door of his home, he cannot understand anything else his friends are saying or his workmates. Everybody is saying sounds strange and weird. It kind of sounds Babelish, blah, 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 type of sound. So they were having a hard time understanding each other. Now let's think about King Nimrod. He must have had a really hard time and must have been very frustrated when he found it impossible to get his servants to carry out his commands. And then just think of how furious he became when he instructed other people to punish his servants. And they didn't do it because they couldn't understand him. Just imagine how chaotic this place was. And that moment in the city, everybody was running around trying to find somebody to understand them. It must have been so confusing. The people probably got very frustrated trying to build the tower when they couldn't communicate with anybody. They couldn't get the work done. So eventually they gave up and they moved away with their families. So, is it a sin for people to build tall buildings? No, of course not. God gives us the ability to make and build great structures. So why was it wrong for the people of Babel to build their city and tower? Well, first of all, the people of Babel were rebellious and disobedient to God. They did not want to fill the earth. They wanted to stay together and make a great name for themselves. They wanted everyone to think that they were special and important. What should they have done? Well, they should have spread out like God told them to. They should have wanted God to look great. They should have told everyone else how awesome God was. But their pride made them disobedient. They wanted their own way and not God's way. Okay, so what should we do in learning from this lesson? Well, we should be careful to say yes to God. Don't be proud like the people of Babel. Ask God for help and obey Him as you try to obey your parents and teachers. Do things the way so that people think that God is great, not so people think that you are great. Everybody, have a happy Valentine's Day and give your family a great big hug today. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later. Bye.